Hello and welcome to Fox Gaming. I'm back on This Is the Police, and I'm getting quite close to the end now. I've only actually got 17 days left of my 180. I have hit my target. I've got over $500,000 now. But I imagine something, the way this game's gone so far, I imagine something is going to happen. Veterans protest. Due to a lack of federal subsidies, the city treasury can no longer afford expensive prosthetics. Disabled veterans who are not going to be receiving artificial limbs somehow learned of this and have joined with the local journalist to arrange a whole live news show. Whining on TV isn't going to grow anyone new legs. We need to teach people they'll get no special treatment just because they're disabled. If you need to grab someone's crutches and put their nose in the asphalt, then so be it. Wow.
Ep17 in progress.
So I still don't know how to tell what people's political
Ep17 in progress.
inclinations are. Oh, Jesus. Well, I can't send anything to that. Oh, I could send 2 people, but they'll probably say no.
14 complete. 415 complete.
Ah,
710B complete.
oh. Was the right place. Excellent.
713 in progress.
Oh, it's snowing outside. I've just noticed the...
311B in progress.
How can you send me something? I've just arrested you. Mr. Boyd, a black sheep has crept into my parish. For the second Sunday in a row, this villain dips his unclean fingers into the donations bowl, filled with generous offerings of our members. My people weren't able to catch the thief in time, so I'm asking for your help. Send to our church your most devout employees, that they may guard the sacred chalice of the Lord like eagles. And when those eagles sink their claws into wicked, bring them unto me, for I wish to teach the thief a lesson in the ways of the Old Testament. Oh. Ah. I can't afford to lose cops. That I would send, because you keep cutting my budget. Okay, so I've got enough for this one now. So, killer. Marjorie Lump is a member of a racist gang and unemployed. She tried to get a job as shop assistant at the Robert Crane store, but didn't make the cut. Angela Peterson is a dark-skinned art student who dreamed of becoming a fashion designer. She always wore sunglasses. The victim suffered serious bruising on her stomach, possibly from a fist or a knee. Death was caused by suffocation, but there's no bruising around the victim's neck. So it wasn't strangulation. Oh, it was the hood. The camera outside the Robert Crane store recorded Angela Peterson exiting the store as she passed the alley. A woman dragged her in by force. Some broken glass, a piece of a brick, and a torn garbage bag were found next to the victim's body. So I'm going to go there, there, there. Yeah.
Ep11 complete.
He's here.
Well, what are you waiting for? Jack, do you know how I managed to stay mayor for so long?
Oh, yeah, I know. Is that what you wanted to talk about?
No, Jack, it's not that. I've stayed in my position because at the very beginning of my career, I learned an important rule. If someone, anyone, friend or enemy, if they want something bad enough, you can hook them with it.
I know just what you mean.
What does Jack Boyd want? A good pension? Doubtful. $500,000. I think that whole nonsense is a myth. The others might think that you just want a paltry sum of money and you'll walk away. I think, no, I'm sure of it. You want what you've always wanted, to remain the chief of police. And only I can give that to you. You are to lead a special operation against Chaffee. I want your team to come down like a hammer on his stinking restaurant. I want you to personally be there and stand in front of the cameras. And I want this fairy shot during his arrest, 12 bullets at least. I want to see his mutilated body all over the airwaves. I expect a perfectly planned operation. And if you keep me happy, you'll keep your job for another 1.5 years. I think we have an agreement, huh?
Not 1.5 years, Mr. Rogers. For the rest of my life.
I was going to say that's pretty short.
You think you can dictate terms, Jack?
Yeah. Because if someone wants something bad enough, you can hook them with it. I think we have an agreement.
Well played, Jack. My main concern at the minute. Oh, really? Yeah, my main concern at the minute is actually Lana, because I don't know what she's going to do. But she's only got 16 days left to act.
1210 complete.
One of our employees was brutally assaulted on the way to work. The poor man is currently in the hospital. We need 2 officers on his ward within the next half hour. Tell them to give him whatever he wants. Bring him a pillow, buy him a soda, scratch his back, anything. As far as the investigation into his incident, we already know who is behind the attack and we'll take it from here. It's a shame I'm having to send one of my best. Oh. Oh. Actually was real. Okay.
Officer on scene. Looks like we have a situation here.
2 guys with nunchucks are calmly walking down the street. Pounce on the guys. Hey, ninja wannabes, heard on your toys. Turn on the siren.
910 be complete.
Shit.
Floor 11 in progress.
I've got a feeling they're both false alarms. Yeah. Yeah, called it.
Mr. Boyd, there's some armed men on the floor. Mr. Boyd, there's a lot of them.
I didn't catch that. Say again?
Excuse me, Mr. Boyd. It seems I accidentally frightened your secretary. Ah, they publish these stories in a book? My grandfather read me these stories from the old newspapers whenever I was ill. As a child, I was often ill, several times a year.
I'm guessing he's going to ask me to do the same against
And you know what,
Mayor
Mr.
Rogers.
Boyd? You're no Bobby Flash.
I am aware of that.
No. I mean it as a compliment. You want to clean up all the crime in Freeburg, right?
Or so I dreamed, once upon a time.
Do you know why you failed, Mr. Boyd? Do you know why Bobby Flash always wins? Because when you're surrounded by cartoon criminals, the only way to win is to become a cartoon cop. You're no cartoon, Mr. Boyd. You suffer too much. You have too many doubts, too much fear, too much internal conflict. Maybe that's why the people of this city forgive all your mistakes, because you seem like a real human being. If Bobby Flash made a mistake, we'd never forgive him. From Bobby Flash, we want cold, calculated perfection, and this is why I've decided that I don't mind if you keep your job.
What, have you abandoned your insane plan to storm the city hall?
You think it insane? To solve all my problems in a single stroke? assuming, of course, that we're properly prepared.
Let's say we do burn City Hall to the ground and kill Rogers. What next? You simply walk into the smoke-filled room and take a seat in his smoldering chair?
No, Mr. Boyd. I've been preparing for a year for what happens next. I'll give the prosecutor's office an impressive folder with compromising evidence against Rogers. Information about how he suppressed his political adversaries, finally lost his mind, and plotted to rain blood on the streets of Freeburg. Of course, Troy Starr, faithful City Hall employee that he is, will easily confirm all this. At the same time, my dear Jordan will finally decide to break her silence and tell everyone how that fool Rogers threatened her, forced her to kill all the victims of his sexual violence to ensure their unpleasant stories would never come to light. Of course, everyone will understand that we didn't have time for formal complaints. The night before Mayor Rogers' private security detail would plunge the city into chaos, our valiant police chief Jack Boyd made the difficult decision to arrest the mayor of Freeburg. Unfortunately, Rogers descended into delusion and engaged in a shootout with the police, which ended in his death. We'll have to call an early election to replace the mayor, and of course, it won't be too difficult to win the election fairly.
And then?
You know, Mr. Boyd, most of the facts that I collected in Rogers' file are quite true. Anyone who reads through the mountain of evidence would have no doubt that this man was the most vile person in the world. Murderer, a rapist, thief, racist, sexist. Are you a sexist, Mr. Boyd?
I'm sorry?
Are you a sexist, Mr. Boyd? Or perhaps racist?
I try not to be.
That's it. I as well. Although I have long been known under a revolutionary pseudonym, I myself am no revolutionary. I believe in evolution. I am convinced that a city which offers such broad support for racist gangs, a city where people cheer as feminist protests are suppressed, a city which for decades has tolerated corrupt officials, I say this city has no interest in a mayor who unconditionally stands for freedom, equality, and the rule of law. Not yet. But perhaps they are ready for a mayor who tries to stand for freedom, equality, and the rule of law. At least when the situation allows it. That's why you're so popular, Mr. Boyd. The city is ready for people like you and me, for people who are ready to make compromises. I'm counting on you, Mr. Boyd.
And, when will they be ready?
I beg your pardon?
You said that the city isn't ready for a mayor who stands for freedom, equality, and the rule of law. When will they be ready? Who decides when they're ready?
I'll decide.
Oh, Christ, I've got to decide now. Oh, right, so, my options are Mayor Rogers, who I already know is a rapist, racist, just a general piece of shit. Or Chaffee. But I know that Chaffee is a scheming piece of work, and I also know that he gave Lana a file on me, so he's quite capable of double-crossing me. God, this music's getting loud. He also perpetrated the dentist copycat murders as well. So I know he's capable of more than Rogers. Plus Rogers is old, so he'll probably die soon anyway. I think just because we know so little of Chaffee. And what we do know of him is just horrible. I think I'm going to have to support Rogers. Jack, I'm doing all your work for you again. Over the next couple of weeks, my assistants will send you names of certain people who might have information about Chaffee's filthy restaurant. If you're going to properly plan the operation and strike a decisive blow, you need to gather as much information as possible. Some of these folks might not feel like talking, so you may need to send more than one or two detectives. Plus, some of them might get the jitters, decide not to share their information with us, even try and flee the city, so see to it quickly.
In progress. 210 in progress. in progress.
There's a lot of like single things happening.
Complete. 911, 214 complete.
Twelve positions are marked on a location where you'll need to place your available forces. Some of these points are poorly protected and suitable for an assault, while others will stand up to a tank. To figure out which spot is weakest, interrogate people for further information. You can send up to 3 fighters to each point, based on what they're good at, and the information you've been able to collect. So an experienced commander who coordinates operations usually heads up a small group of fighters during an assault. In addition to your fighters, you also have an armoured personal carrier. It can help you break through the most protected areas of the enemy position. Be careful where you use it, the department only has one of them. That's a powerful military vehicle able to break through barricades and quickly deliver troops where needed. It can hold up to 3 soldiers in full gear. A mobile fighter equipped with assault rifles and light equipment, responsible for sweeping the premises and able to penetrate a building using non-standard entryways, including windows or the roof. Soldier in heavy gear, carrying a ram and several types of explosives, able to break through protected and reinforced positions and can target any object to create a tactical advantage. They usually work alongside assaulters who supply cover. Covert fighter, equipped with binoculars and rifles with telescopic sights. They track field operations from a distance and provide cover. I imagine one will go there. People say the wooded hill in front of the store is a haven for sick bastards and perverts. Employees are always complaining that someone's watching them. Actually, I've had the same feeling myself a few times. Though I always chalked it up to exaggeration, and superstition. But then one of our drivers started seeing weird people with binoculars in the forest. He says they're just sitting there for hours, watching. I don't know what they're up to, but they have a complete view of the area. They can even see into the locker room. We always used to keep the barn door open. The breeze was good for the animals. But one night a couple drunk labourers wandered in and dug a hole under one of the walls, looking for treasure. They said after that my cows didn't like outsiders so much, so I started closing the door and hanging a lock on the latch. Only me and Mr. Chaffee have the keys. No more drunken fools are going to mess around in there. So that's the barn door. So wait, where's the forest? I'm assuming that's the forest. It kind of needs a label. Okay, so this can only go on one of these spaces. I imagine the other sniper will need to go there. Oh, didn't even see that. So yeah, one is the wooded area. Okay.
415 in progress. We've got a situation here.
The knife is still stuck in the girl's side and the wound is bleeding. There's a menacing crowd gathering around the man who threw the knife. Pull the knife at the girl's body and throw it at the man. Wow. Back away or everyone is leaving here in cuffs. Seize the man. The man jumps up on the bar and runs for the exit. Trip him with nightsticks. Hold it right there, run after him. Trip him with nightsticks.
415 completion.
Mr. Boyd, our girlfriends are planning another party, and this time we want something really special. I'll be grateful if you can choose some of your more well-built and sexually uninhibited employees. We'll take care of the rest. In case it wasn't clear enough, they'll be asked to perform a striptease. We're tired of the clowns at the escort agents keep sending us. No, I'm not going to do that.
We've got a situation here.
The bathroom is empty, but one of the booths is closed and there's some clattering coming from inside. Come out with your hands up and your pants buttoned. The door of the booth swings open and out flies a guy wearing a backpack, 2 guns in hand, and he shoots wildly into the wall. The city's garbage collection crews drank sour milk at a company gathering and haven't been able to work for several days, meaning the streets have turned into a dump. Emergency services are jammed up from people calling for help.
213 in progress.
Peter Murphy and Jim Collins work as plumbers, and they always go on calls together. They don't wear uniforms, they prefer tracksuits. Well, that's going to be wrong because that's electricians. And oh my god, Mario and Waluigi. The kidnappers took 2 black boys and a dark-skinned girl. Kidnappers escaped with the children in a white van. The young teacher was focused on a book and didn't notice the kidnappers came up behind her and knocked her out. On the playground, we found traces of chloroform, the novel The Catcher in the Rye, some fake tickets for a performance by imaginary illusionist Harry Baryshnikov, and a wrench. Don't think there's much there they can actually use. At least 2 will be right, because it matches that tracksuit there, but all these 3 are wrong. I don't think I've got anybody I can add to it. Oh, I do. Let's put you on it, since it's near the end of the day. Okay, folks, some quite interesting things happening now in terms of the story. Made the decision to back Mayor Rogers, and I've now got a plan to assault Chaffee's restaurant. Although I imagine that every day I'm going to get somebody else to interrogate, which means the abduction thing that's going on needs to end quite quickly as well. Otherwise I'm going to run out of detectives. But my sniper's in place, because there's only 2 feasible places I was going to put those anyway. But we'll see how that develops next time. But for now, thanks for watching. See you next time. Bye bye.